All right, let's dive into this fascinating collection of public speaking advice you've shared with us.
Yeah.
Chris Anderson's TED Talks, the official TED Guide to Public Speaking. You're clearly after more than just giving a presentation.
Right.
You want to craft something truly captivating.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that.
Yeah.
Dive in, because Anderson actually takes us way back to basics.
Okay.
Like, think campfires,
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, the dawn of human connection.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Not exactly the first image that pops into my head when I think PowerPoint, I have to admit.
Right, but that's where it all began.
Yeah.
Anderson argues that public speaking is deeply ingrained in our DNA.
Okay.
Imagine, those ancient gatherings sharing stories under the stars.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't just entertainment.
Right.
It was about building shared consciousness.
I can see that, yeah. Everyone's syncing their minds, feeling those same emotions.
Yeah.
It's almost like a shared heartbeat.
Exactly. And that shared experience could then spark action,
Right.
whether it was a hunt, a celebration, or coming together to build something. It's powerful stuff.
Right.
And what's fascinating is that it's still relevant today, even in our digital age.
So our Twitter feeds are the new campfires.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
One talk can now reach millions online, amplifying the speaker's impact in ways we couldn't have imagined before.
Right.
But with that amplified reach comes responsibility.
Yeah.
Anderson is very clear. A talk isn't about taking from your audience. It's about giving a gift.
I like that. A gift of knowledge, a
Yeah.
new perspective makes you realize how important it is to craft something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of things that are not worthwhile,
Yeah.
Anderson does not hold back when describing the talks to avoid.
Oh, yeah. The don'ts are just as important as the do's.
Yeah.
He calls out those cringeworthy sales pitch talks. In fact, he actually shares a story about having to interrupt a speaker who was blatantly promoting their consultancy services.
Ouch, you hate to see it. Though I have to admit, I've been in the audience for a few of those.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that people are there to gain something not to be sold to.
Right.
Another type of talk to avoid, according to Anderson, is the ramble.
Those are the worst. No clear point, no takeaways, just a meandering stream of consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the inspiration performance where a speaker tries too hard to manufacture an emotional high without any real substance.
Right.
It's all flash and no substance.
It's like those motivational posters with vague platitudes.
Right.
They might look nice on a wall,
Right.
but they don't really give you anything concrete to hold on to.
Precisely. Anderson argues that true inspiration comes from authenticity, courage, and genuine wisdom, not from trying to force it.
So how do we move beyond those pitfalls and
Yeah.
craft a talk that truly resonates?
Right.
Anderson seems to place a lot of emphasis on language itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He argues that while tone of voice and body language are important,
Yep.
we shouldn't underestimate the power of the words themselves. It's the words that paint vivid pictures in our minds.
Yeah.
They build compelling arguments and ultimately leave a lasting impact.
He uses that memorable example of an elephant with a bright red painted trunk dancing with a giant orange parrot on its head, right?
Exactly. It might sound silly,
Yeah.
but you instantly see that image in your mind. It shows how language can create something out of nothing.
Right.
But there's a crucial point here.
Okay.
It only works if your audience understands the language you're using.
Uh,
You need to build a bridge of shared understanding.
Starting from common ground.
Yeah.
And speaking of bridges, Anderson talks a lot about the importance of a strong through line, that central thread that ties your whole talk together. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
It's like the backbone of your talk.
Yeah.
Without it, you're left with a jumble of disconnected ideas.
Yeah.
Anderson encourages speakers to identify the single core message they want to convey and then structure everything around that through line.
And he gives some great examples of effective through lines from past TED Talks, right?
He does.
I remember him mentioning vulnerability is something to be treasured, not hidden from.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
clear, concise, and instantly makes you want to hear more. Another example he gives is education's potential is transformed if you focus on the amazing creativity of kids.
Right.
Each of those provides a framework for the entire talk.
It's like a roadmap,
Yeah.
guiding you and the audience through the material. But a good roadmap is only helpful if you make it to the destination.
Right.
Anderson also talks about the importance of grabbing the audience's attention right from the start.
Absolutely. You need to make an immediate connection. Eye contact, a touch of vulnerability, even acknowledging your nerves. These can make you more relatable.
Basically, let your human side shine through.
Exactly. Anderson even suggests incorporating humor.
Okay.
And this is a big but.
Okay.
If you're not naturally funny, don't force it.
Yeah. I've cringed through enough bad dad jokes to know that's good advice.
Right. He has a whole list of humor. Don't puns, limericks,
Right.
anything potentially offensive. Stick to what feels authentic to you. And remember, it's about sharing a valuable idea, not about inflating your ego.
So park the ego at the door?
Precisely boasting about your achievements or name-dropping will only alienate your audience. Instead, focus on sharing something that genuinely resonates with others. And one of the most effective ways to do that is through storytelling.
Now that's something I can get behind.
Yeah.
A good story can really capture your imagination. But Anderson takes it a step further, saying it's not just about entertainment.
Right. He argues that stories actually activate our brains in a way that makes information more memorable.
Okay.
He uses this fascinating example of a brain-eating parasite that controls the behavior of shrimp.
Okay, now you have my full attention.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Apparently, this parasite infects shrimp and compels them to huddle together, making them easy prey for flamingos. And guess what? The parasite needs to get inside a flamingo to complete its life cycle.
Wow, that's both horrifying and strangely amazing. And you're right, I don't think I'll be forgetting that anytime soon.
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates how a well-chosen story can bring even complex scientific concepts to life. Anderson encourages speakers to find those stories that illuminate their points, resonate with the audience, and make their ideas stick.
He tells a great anecdote about Ernestina, a woman who went to Zambia to teach people how to farm.
Right.
They had this elaborate plan to grow Italian tomatoes and zucchini, but everything got eaten by hippos.
Turns out the local people knew all about the hippos, which is why they weren't farming in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a funny story.
Yeah.
But it highlights the importance of listening to local knowledge and understanding the context of your audience.
A valuable lesson for sure. And it reminds us that authenticity is key when choosing which stories to share.
Absolutely. It should feel like you're sharing a story with a friend, not trying to impress them or manipulate their emotions.
It's about striking that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, being genuine and vulnerable without making the audience uncomfortable. But storytelling isn't the only way to create an impact. Anderson also talks about the power of explanation.
Yeah, it's about making the complex clear, the unfamiliar relatable. Anderson uses the example of Harvard psychologist Dan Gilbert, who tackled the tricky concept of synthesized happiness.
Now, that's a topic I could use a little more clarity on. How did he manage to make it digestible for a general audience?
Gilbert's talk is a masterclass in using humor metaphors and a step-by-step approach. He talks about the experience simulator in our brains and the psychological immune system. These aren't things we can actually see, but they make the abstract idea of happiness much easier to grasp.
Right, and he uses really intriguing studies to back up his points, like the one comparing the happiness levels of lottery winners and paraplegics a year after their life-changing events.
It's those kinds of unexpected comparisons that make you stop and think. And that's what effective explanation does. It sparks curiosity and opens your mind to new possibilities. But Anderson doesn't stop there. He delves into the art of persuasion, arguing that it's about more than just logic.
So it's not enough to simply present the facts.
Right. It's about connecting on an emotional level, too. He uses Dan Pallotta's talk on charity reform as a case in point. Pallotta masterfully weaves together reason, evidence, and storytelling to make a powerful case.
I remember reading about that. Didn't he use those impactful if-then statements to build his argument?
Exactly. For example, he says, if you prohibit failure, you kill innovation. If you kill innovation in fundraising, you can't raise more revenue. If you can't raise more revenue, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't possibly solve large social problems. It's a chain of logic that's hard to argue with.
It's like he's building a case brick by brick, but you mentioned emotion playing a role too, right?
Anderson emphasizes that logic alone isn't always enough to move people to action. Incorporating vivid examples, bringing in outside validation, and using powerful visuals can make your argument even more compelling.
So it's about painting a complete picture, engaging both the head and the heart.
Precisely. Speaking of visuals, Anderson has a lot to say about how they can elevate a talk. But he starts with a surprising question. Do you even need slides?
It seems counterintuitive, but I can see how some talks might be stronger without them.
Exactly. He points out that some of the most popular TED Talks relied solely on the speaker's words and presence. But if you do use visuals, they should serve a clear purpose to reveal something new, to explain a complex idea, or to enhance the aesthetic appeal of your talk.
He's not a fan of death by PowerPoint, then.
Not at all. He has a whole section on slide sins, like tiny fonts, cluttered layouts, and cheesy transitions.
Oh, the horrors. We've all sat through those presentations.
Instead, he advocates for high-resolution images, clean typography, and using video strategically. The key takeaway: your visuals should complement your message, not distract from it.
It's about creating an experience, not just delivering information.
Exactly. And that brings us to the delivery itself. Anderson explores various approaches, from meticulously scripting your talk to using note cards as guideposts. He even touches upon the use of confidence monitors and teleprompters, but offers a word of caution about relying on them too heavily.
It's about finding what works best for you, right? There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely. The most important thing is to find a delivery style that feels authentic to you and allows your personality to shine through.
He does emphasize the importance of practice, though, right?
Absolutely. He tells a rather amusing story about a physicist who tried to memorize his talk but ended up flubbing it on stage because he hadn't rehearsed enough to make it sound natural.
Yeah, a good reminder that even without notes, practice is key to sounding natural and engaging.
Precisely. And don't forget about your body language. Stand tall, make eye contact. Use gestures to emphasize your points. Bring energy and presence to the stage.
It's about captivating the audience with your whole being, not just your words.
And finally, we come to the bookends of your talk, the opening and the closing. Anderson stresses the power of a strong opening to grab the audience's attention from the get-go.
It's about making that crucial first impression. What are some of his suggestions for crafting a compelling opening?
He suggests setting the stakes, igniting curiosity, provoking a reaction, or even starting with a personal anecdote. Think of Ed Young, the science writer who captivated his audience from the first sentence by describing a mind-controlling parasite.
Okay, that would definitely pique my interest. And how about the closing? What makes for a memorable finish?
Aim for a powerful ending that leaves a lasting impression. Offer a call to action, reveal surprising insight, create a sense of hope, or end with a lyrical flourish.
It's about bringing the talk full circle and leaving the audience with something to ponder.
Exactly. Anderson wants your audience to feel like their time was well spent. He ends his book with a thought-provoking idea. In our increasingly interconnected world, public speaking is becoming more vital than ever.
It's a powerful tool for sharing ideas, inspiring change, and making your voice heard.
So what are you passionate about? What stories will you share with the world? Take those ideas, those burning passions, and craft them into talks worth spreading. Because your voice matters and the world is listening.
And there you have it, folks. Another deep dive complete. Until next time, keep those ideas flowing and those voices strong.